something happened on the 27th of April, 2026, that most people completely missed. CATL, the world's largest battery manufacturer, signed the biggest sodium-ion battery order in history, a 3-year deal with energy storage company HyperStrong for 60 gigawatt-hours of sodium-ion batteries. 60 gigawatt-hours. To put that into perspective, that number is equivalent to roughly half of everything CATL shipped in its entire energy storage business throughout 2025. Half, in a single order, for one customer, for one chemistry that not long ago people were still calling promising, but not quite there yet. This is not a research announcement. This is not a pilot project. This is mass production, real contracts, real money, and real deployment. And CATL itself described this deal as proof that it has, and I'm quoting directly here, overcome the challenges of the entire sodium-ion battery mass production chain. That's a bold statement from a company that doesn't usually oversell things. And some industry observers are already calling this a potential DeepSeek moment for global energy storage. Whether or not that comparison holds up over time, the scale of this deal demands attention. Let me back up for a second, because if you're not deep into the battery world, sodium-ion might sound like a minor tweak to existing technology. It's not really. The basic operating principle is similar to lithium-ion. Ions move between a cathode and an anode through an electrolyte when the battery charges and discharges. The fundamental difference is what those ions are made of. Lithium-ion batteries use, well, lithium. Sodium-ion batteries use sodium instead. And that one swap carries enormous consequences for cost, supply chains, and where these batteries can actually be deployed. Here's the raw material reality. Sodium carbonate, the key precursor for sodium-ion batteries, costs somewhere between $100 and $500 per ton. Lithium carbonate, by comparison, range between $6,000 and $83,000 per ton over the same 2020 to 2024 period. According to IRENA, that is not a small gap. Sodium is also roughly 1,000 times more abundant than lithium in the Earth's crust and is literally present in seawater in virtually unlimited quantities. You can get sodium from salt. It's everywhere. Now, beyond the raw material cost advantage, sodium-ion batteries don't need cobalt or nickel either. They use cheaper cathode materials like manganese and iron. They also use aluminum current collectors on both electrodes, while lithium-ion batteries require more expensive copper on the anode side. At first, these differences aren't major, but they add up quickly at scale. Now, if sodium is this cheap and this abundant, you might be asking why we've been running the whole energy transition on lithium batteries for the past decade. And that's a fair question. Sodium-ion research has actually been ongoing since the 1970s and 1980s, which is roughly parallel to lithium-ion development. But lithium-ion pulled ahead, got the investment, and got the manufacturing scale. And sodium-ion got stuck in the research phase with a few stubborn problems. The big ones were, of course, energy density, cycle life, and manufacturing scalability. Early sodium-ion cells just couldn't hold as much energy at the same weight as lithium-ion cells. The anodes were also a headache. And graphite, which worked perfectly as a lithium-ion anode, doesn't work with sodium ions because sodium atoms are simply too large to intercalate into graphite structure. You need hard carbon instead. And making hard carbon consistently and at scale introduced its own manufacturing challenges, including a problem called foaming and tight humidity control requirements on the production line. CATL had spent close to 10 billion yuan, which is roughly $1.45 billion, on sodium-ion research and development through 2025. And the results of that investment are now visible. The company developed proprietary processes, including what it calls angstrom-level pore size regulation and surface molecular water-locking techniques that solved the hard carbon electrode foaming problem and made consistent high-volume production actually achievable. On the cathode side, they applied morphology control and surface modification engineering to hit better energy density numbers. The result is a 300 plus ampere-hour large format prismatic cell with an energy density of around 160 to 175 watt-hours per kilogram. A cycle life of 10,000 cycles, fast charge capability of up to 5C, and operating temperatures from -40 to +70 degrees Celsius. That cold weather performance alone is a big deal for grid storage in markets with harsh winters. Now, something needs mentioning though, because sodium-ion is not a replacement for every lithium-ion battery everywhere. Let's be honest about what it is and what it isn't. For high-performance EVs, the energy density of around 160 to 175 watt-hours per kilogram is still lower than what premium lithium-ion chemistries achieve. A Tesla or a high-end BEV needs maximum range packed onto minimum weight. That's still lithium's game for now. CATL itself is positioning sodium-ion and lithium-ion as a dual-star approach, where both technologies develop in parallel rather than one replacing the other. But for stationary grid-scale energy storage, the calculus is completely different. Weight doesn't matter on a grid installation. What matters is cost per kilowatt-hour, safety, cycle life, and the ability to operate across a wide range of temperatures. Sodium-ion wins on multiple fronts in that application, and it also fits well in budget EVs, e-scooters, two-wheelers, and commercial vehicles where cost sensitivity is high and range requirements are more modest. The pricing picture is still developing. Wood Mackenzie estimated the average cost of sodium-ion batteries at around $59 per kilowatt-hour in 2025, compared to about $52 per kilowatt-hour for lithium iron phosphate. Yes, sodium-ion is currently slightly more expensive at the cell level because the cost advantage has not yet fully materialized in practice. IRENA projects that as production scales, sodium-ion cells could drop to around $40 per kilowatt-hour, at which point the economics become compelling. The 60 gigawatt-hour order is exactly the kind of scale that accelerates that trajectory. Now, CATL is also putting its money where its mouth is beyond just signing orders. The company has announced plans to invest 5 billion yuan, which is around $735 million, to build 40 gigawatt-hours of new sodium-ion battery production capacity in Fujian province. That expansion comes on top of the HyperStrong deal and on top of a separate broader agreement where HyperStrong committed to buying 200 gigawatt-hours of CATL battery cells between 2026 and 2028. The sodium-ion battery market overall is expected to reach $1.08 billion by 2026. CATL launched its sodium-ion brand called Naxtra in April 2025 and described 2026 as the year of large-scale deployment across multiple sectors, including battery swap systems, passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, and energy storage. Its sodium-ion cells already passed China's latest national safety standard for electric vehicle traction batteries, becoming the first sodium-ion batteries to achieve that certification. Honestly, I find this development very interesting and probably groundbreaking if it catches on. The energy transition runs on batteries, and the energy transition also runs on economics. If you can store renewable energy at grid scale for meaningfully less money, you accelerate everything. More wind and solar get deployed because the storage side of the equation gets cheaper. More countries and regions can afford to build the infrastructure. The geopolitical fragility around lithium and cobalt supply chains gets reduced. That matters. I also think the timing is interesting, to say the least. Sodium-ion has spent literally decades being almost ready. What's changed is that CATL threw serious engineering firepower and billions of dollars in investment at the remaining problems